morning to lecturer and my friends. My name is Tang Jia Chen, number metric is 2657772, and we are from Group 1. Today we will present about Topic 2, which is the method of trade settlement. An open account transaction is a sales where the goods are shipped and delivered before payment is due, which is typically in 30, 60, or 90 days. Obviously, this method is the most advantageous option to the importer in terms of cash flow and cost, but it is the highest risk option for an exporter. Because of intensive competition in export market, foreign buyers often press exporters for open account terms since the extension of credit by the seller to the buyer is more common abroad. Therefore, exporters who are not willing to extend credit may lose a sales to their competitor. However, the exporter can offer competitive open account terms while substantially mitigating the risk of non-payment by using one or more the appropriate trade finance techniques such as export credit insurance. Next method is consignment. The exporter ships the goods to the importer while still retaining actual title to the merchandise. The importer has access to the inventory but does not have to pay for the goods until they have been sold to a third party. The exporter is trusting the importer to remit payment for the goods sold at that time. If the importer fails to pay, the exporter has limited recourse because no draft is involved, and the goods have already been sold.
Hi everyone, my name is Chai Bolling, metric number 262986. I will present about payment in advance. Payment in advance is payment done by the importer to the exporter before shipment. This is the most secure payment method from exporter perspective because the exporter receives the fund in advance. It helps to minimize the credit risk or risk of non-payment. However, it is the least attractive option for the importer because it may create unfavorable cash flow. Also, the importer concerned about that the exporter may not send the good after payment.
Now I will proceed to the barter trade and bilateral payment arrangement. For the first one, barter trade. Barter trade involves the process of trading goods and services between two or more parties without using any money. Individuals exchange goods and services according to the equivalent or same prices of goods. For example, a farmer uses a row of bushes to exchange a pair of shoes from the shoemaker. Other than individual barter, there is also countries barter. In the case of countries barter, goods will be exported by exchanging the goods that both countries need. Next is the bilateral payment arrangement, BPA. Basically, BPA uses the letter of credit to help in solving the money obligations between two countries. It provides opportunity for the countries to enter each other's market, and this will directly increase the economic growth by promoting the trade between two countries. Central Bank provides payment guarantee for BPA as they want to convert the commercial risk into sovereign risk. The uses of BPA provides advantages such as provide opportunities to access new market, enables customers to get lower price of goods, provide great confidence on export activities. Last but not least, payment guarantee is useful for exports, especially for the domestic currency, as it eliminates credit and exchange risk. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next, documentary collection. Documentary collection is method of trade finance in which exporter bank forward documents to importer banks and collect payment for shipped goods. Shipping documents are required for the buyer to clear the goods through customs and take delivery. These documents include bills of exchange, commercial invoice, certificate of origin, and packing list. There are two types of documentary collection, which is document against payment (DP) and documents against acceptance (DA). Document against payment require the importer to pay the face amount of a draft at site, whereas document against acceptance require the importer to pay on a specific date.
A very good morning to our lecturers and my fellow friends. And my name is Taliman. My metric number is 263647. And today I will continue to present the documentary collection procedure. Okay. In this picture, we can clearly to see that they have 7 steps for the documentary collection procedure. Okay, and now I will explain it one by one. Okay, for the step 1 is the seller, which is the exporter, they will send the goods to the buyer or the importer. And then the step 2 is the seller or the exporter, they will send the collection order to the seller bank, which is he or her bank, like that. Okay, and now the seller banks will send the collection order to the collecting bank, which is the buyer's bank. Okay, and now we can see these explanations. The step 1 is the exporter or the seller that makes agreement to send the goods to the buyer or the importer. Okay, the step 2 is the seller submit a collection order to his or her bank. And the step 3 is the seller's bank then submit the collection order to banks of the buyer. Okay, and now we go to the step 4. Okay, the buyer's bank present a presentation document to the buyer. Okay, then the step 5 is the buyer then must make a payment or the acceptance to his or her bank, which means that the importer, the buyer, must make a payment to his bank. Okay, and then the next step is the payment of or acceptance is sent to the seller's bank by the buyer's bank. And the last step is the seller's bank submit the payment or acceptance to the seller. Okay, this 7 step is the documentary collection procedure.
Good day, everyone. My name is Lopesan, metric number 261486. Now, I will be continue with documentary credit. What is documentary credit? Documentary credit is in a popular language known as a letter of credit. It is one of the most common use of payment in the international trades. It can be used for all types of goods such as car, machinery, electrical items, textile, furniture, computer, and so on. A documentary credit is a method of payment that protects both seller and also the buyer in a contract of sales. In the case of the seller, it gives a guarantee that the seller will receive payment after the shipment has been fulfilled. For the buyer side, the buyer will get a guarantee that the goods order will be delivered. Generally, the seller will be request the documentary credit in order to check the creditworthiness of the buyer. For the buyer side, upon issuing the request document, they also request confirmation or compliant document from the seller. The confirmation document could be a bill of lading, insurance certificate, and also the certificate of origin. Usually, there will be involved 2 banks, which is issuing bank, also known as buyer bank, and also the advising bank, which is normally known as seller bank. Advantage for the documentary credit is the buyer will provide reasonable assurance that proper shipment is made prior to the payment, Next, the buyer may also obtain lower price of product due to the reduced credit risk for seller. While for the advantage of the documentary credit to the seller is it provides assured and proper payment and protect against the cancellation of underlying sales of contract. This is the example of the letter of credit, which is one of the method of payment that we usually use in the international trades. Next is the payment risk diagram. In this diagram, it divided into two parts, which is the risk for the exporter and also the risk for the importer. For the exporter, any sales happen considered is a gift until they receive the payment. Therefore, exporter want to receive payment as soon as possible. They prefer as soon as an order is placed or before the goods are sent to the importer. Payment in advance term can help an exporter to avoid the credit risk because payment is received upfront before the ownership of the goods is transferred. So, payment in advance is the least risk for the exporter, followed by the letter of credits, documentary collection, opens account, and consignment. For the importer, any payment that they made considered is a donation until the goods are received. Therefore, the importer want to receive the goods as soon as possible, but they delay the payment as long as possible. Importer prefer to resell the goods and also to generate the enough income before they pay it to the exporter. Consignment in international trade is a variation of the open account in which payment is sent to the exporter only after the goods has been sold by the foreign distributor to the end customer. So this consignment will be carry least risk for the importer, then followed by the open account, documentary collection, letter of credit, and the payment in advance.
Okay, now I will explain the next point, which is the supplier chains finance. Okay, in this mind map, we can see that the wave 1 is supplier solutions, wave 2 is buyer solutions, wave 3 is convergence of buyers and supplier solutions. And now I will explain the definitions for these supplier chains. Okay, buyer and supplier in the supplier chains have a competing financial interest. Okay, like we know that is buyer wants to pay as late as possible and the supplier want to pay as early as possible. And this supplier chain finance has emerged to bridge these conflicting interests, providing a range of financing and risk mitigation solution designed to optimize working capital. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you. Okay,